Pura wipes. 100% plastic free, 100% biodegradable. Order now at mypura.com.
Welcome to Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the Virtual Meetup. This is the end of the 4 days. We've been giving you content, loads of content for 4 days, and now here we are. We've covered everything from anxiety to sleep, to how we've dealt with this new normal, to the 4th trimester, to maternal mental health. There's been so much, and I wanted to end on a complete high with some words of wisdom from women who make me feel empowered and uplifted all the time, and I hope that we will leave you feeling just that tonight. Please welcome my 3 amazing guests. We have Natalie, Megan and Techies. Hello! I mean, see, even just looking at you guys, you make me happy. Look at those smiles. You seriously are. I think we all need people online who we follow and who make us feel good and empowered and make us feel like our voice is important and that what we say matters. And I think social media gets such a bad reputation for, being this dark and miserable place. And actually you 3 women are a prime example of why that's absolute tosh, because you do far from that. You empower people and make them feel so good about themselves. But I think tonight for me as well, so as well as just letting people go home, stay in their home, they sit on their sofas feeling empowered, because we're all home in our jammies really. I want to make people realise as well that, or understand how it's a process, how it's not always that thing where you choose to be happy and positive and accepting of everything, and then one day you decide that and that's where you are. Actually, it's a journey, it's a process, and it's not something that you just land on. Megan, I know that this is something that you feel really passionate about and you share a lot. It's not something that you just woke up one day and decided, I'm going to be this way. It's how did you get there, Megan?
Well, funnily enough, I think that when I first started out in the whole self-development world, and the first books that I read were like all about happiness, and it was pushing happiness, and it almost put this pressure on me as I decided that I wanted to become this positive, happy person, this pressure to always be happy. And then if I fell outside of those lines, if I fell outside of that happiness and that joy and that mood, I felt really guilty. And that would then send me spiraling into feelings of shame and actually remove me even further from happiness. So I realized that there is a toxic side to the wellness industry, to the self-development space, which is like constantly pushing us to always be happy and telling us happiness is always in our control and it's always in our hands. And it's simply not true. Like, we're human. We have to feel the full spectrum of emotion. And actually, funnily enough, it was when I allowed myself to feel all my emotions, every single one, from guilt, shame, anger, grief, rage, sadness, depression, all of these emotions, and held space for them, that actually life became so much more beautiful and so much more enjoyable. And actually, the emotions that I used to see as negative became really important because they brought with them messages, and they brought with them like opportunities for healing and growth. And actually, I've become a happier person overall by allowing myself to feel emotions that aren't always just happiness. So that's kind of the journey that we've been on with it.
And I guess that's massively mirrored in motherhood as well, because if we all know that being a mum is amazing and how lucky we are, and I think before you become a mum, I always had this image of it being this amazing thing, just amazing. That's the only word that was ever linked to motherhood for me. And actually then when you have children and you realise how it is full of different colour, how, you know, some days it is really challenging and you just want to cry in the kitchen cupboard, but a second later your child can give you a hug for no reason and it's just pure love. And I think those two things are so connected. Like, you have to let emotion in and embrace the fact that so much emotion lies in everything. It's not just one thing.
Yeah.
Techie,
and it's the contrast. The contrast is what's so beautiful. It's the contrast, and it's those low moments where you get in bed with your baby and you cry in the cot or giving them a hug because you feel so overwhelmed and sad, and then to those moments of pure bliss when they come up to you and say, "I love you, mummy," and give you a hug. Those moments only feel so blissful because you know the contrast. You know how it feels to be crying in the cot. You know.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the thing. You can't experience the highs without the lows. It just that would just never happen. I've got to say, actually, for anyone that's watching, if you want to leave comments, then please do and join in the conversation and let us know how you're feeling. Techies, does that ring bells for you? Have you sort of experienced that thing of
Yes, definitely. So I love waking up like positive and happy. That's just who I am. But there's days, like you're saying, where you'll get ups and downs with your kids. I mean, I've got a toddler and a 4-month-old. So you can just imagine how crazy it gets in the house. And there's times when I just get things out of control and there's nothing I can do. But I've learned to embrace it. Embrace that, okay, cool. I don't always have to have everything together. It's okay. And like you're saying, those moments when they come hug you or say, "Mama, I love you," it just makes you remember to just focus on the positive things. And that's how I jump back on my positive boat again, and forget about things that I can't control.
Well, I guess it's that thing, isn't it? We kind of hold on to those things that we get wrong, those moments. Oh, I failed in that. And then that can have a knock-on effect for the rest of the day. And then you have to kind of draw a line under it and start again the next day. Whereas actually each moment, I guess there has to be a bit of fluidity in that and kind of going, let that go, let's move in. Because we can't keep on.
Exactly, because if you keep on like holding on to these negative or things like they're saying we can't control, you're just going to end up ending your day on a bad note. And for those who don't have kids, I always say to like my girlfriends or my family, always try, face yourself, go to the mirror, restart. Just stop what you're doing for a second, restart, tell yourself you got this, it's okay, and just start again. And that's also okay to not be okay. And a lot of people feel like they fail if they don't get things right, or if their day is not going like someone else's. Let's say they were on social media, people are like, "Oh, hey guys, looking all happy," and then they start comparing their lives and then they feel miserable, which is why it's so important to have a very good relationship with yourself before anything else. Because once you have a good relationship with yourself, you will know yourself better than anyone, and you'll know when to put yourself into check, as opposed to being put off guard by what you see on social media or from someone else. So yeah, we need to practice having an amazing relationship with ourselves, knowing your mind, your body, your soul, it's all connected,
And talking about social media, Natalie, you talk a lot about taking ownership over who you follow as well, because we do spend so much time, it's inevitable that we're on our phones. Like, what we see on our feed feeds into us, and if we're following people that make us feel rubbish, then that's kind of on us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important to follow the accounts that make you feel good about yourselves, that there's certain things that are always going to trigger certain people, and it depends on what's going on in your life at the time. But you know what? I think even if they are a friend, like, don't feel bad about unfollowing a friend, because if you look at your phone, I don't know how many times a day you look at your phone, but I look at it quite a lot. And if you look at it quite often and you're just constantly made to feel bad, then you need to take control of that situation. Yeah. And it's exactly the same as in real life. You want to surround yourself by good people, by supportive people who you have a two-way relationship that's beneficial to both of you. It's the same with online, because so much of our support system now we get from online. So we have to be very, very careful about what we see and what we're taking in.
And realizing that there's so much that lies beyond what that person's posting. They're posting a nanosecond or there's so much that goes beyond that. Who knows how truthful they're being or where they're at in their own mental health and whatever else, there's so much more.
Absolutely. And, people don't have to share everything online. There's a whole lot I don't share online because that's my personal stuff. Just because I've got online presence doesn't mean that I have to share all the nitty gritty with you. It's not that people are being dishonest or not sharing, a true version of themselves. But, there's some stuff that's private, and I think you just do have to be very aware of that they're not going to show you when they're on the floor crying or, eating a whole tub of ice cream. It's just not, you don't automatically pick up the phone at that moment, do you?
No, I've actually thought that with a lot of the awareness days, actually, which are amazing for getting those thoughts out there and raising awareness around certain topics. But sometimes you're not in the place to share. You've got to process things for yourself. And I think sometimes having that external pressure to kind of go, you haven't talked about this, you need to talk about this. But what am I going to give you a surface level account of this, or am I going to share how I actually feel? I'm not ready. So sometimes it is about going at your own pace as well and not feeling that pressure from other people.
Well, what I often do is I often take time to reflect on something and process something. And then if I'm ready to talk about it after that, then I will talk about it, because I just find that if I talk about something I'm going through at that point in time, it's not helpful to anyone else, really. It's just merely a sort of just, getting it all out there, but not in a helpful way. So once I've had time to process it and reflect on it, that's when I can share it, if I want to share it, in a very helpful way that would give people something.
Is there something, Megan, about sharing how you feel online and getting that response back? I feel like sometimes we put out there what we actually need. What we need is what we put out, and then having that reaction from people, that response of kind of going, yes, this is how I feel, knowing that you aren't alone, which is what this whole thing is about, realizing that you're not on your own. How powerful is that even in your sharing?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think absolutely everybody who is on Instagram shares a reflection of what's going on inside for them. There's no way that I could turn up on Instagram every single day and talk about a topic that I hadn't experienced or wasn't going through or hadn't grown through, because it wouldn't be authentic and it wouldn't make sense, and I wouldn't be able to do it from the heart. So every single person that's sharing a quote or advice or a piece of information, it has to come from somewhere, unless they are pulling it from Pinterest and trying to be relatable to a different topic. If someone's content is authentic and it's from the heart, it's from their heart, it's from their experience. And what I've found is most people that are in our position that have a following or an online presence, so many of them got that way because they used Instagram as an outlet for their own healing. And it's that journey of, I'm going to share this because this is a way for me to process my emotions and get it all out. And for a lot of people, for myself especially, when I talk about my emotions, when I talk through them, when I express them, it's almost like a journal on Instagram. And then people are kind of drawn to that like flies to shit, because it's like, oh my God, I get it. It's relatable. Like I want to read this. This is me. I can see myself in this person because they're on a similar healing path or a healing journey. So the power of sharing our struggles is, once you, as long as, like Nat was saying, like you are in a position where it doesn't feel too much. Like recently I came off Instagram a little bit in the way of like not posting as many stories and not posting as much of my private life because it got too much for me. I felt like I was being judged constantly and I was feeling really disempowered, and what was a healing process for me and what was a lovely way to share and connect with people became detrimental to my own mental health. So I had to take a step back. But then like Nat was saying again, I kind of took time to rejig things. What do I want to share, and what do I not want to share? What is it okay for people to know, and actually, what needs to be left for me? Because I need a bit of my own life for me. I need to keep something for me. And I think that when you're someone who shares a lot, and actually, when in your heart it's because you want to help people, there can be an oversharing issue that happens because you're so desperate to get everything out and help as many people as possible, and you give yourself away in the process. So it's this balance, and I think that people need to understand that people on social media who are sharing their lives don't have it all figured out. We are growing through our shit in public, and we get judged and criticized, and we get held accountable for shit that we've said and we've done, and we get, slagged off, and we get, all this kind of stuff at the same time as trying to help people and go through this journey. So it's, when it comes down to it, I think it's so important that people are sharing their struggles and their ups and downs with mental health and their life experiences, because my favorite saying in the world is we're all just walking each other home. And I so believe that, it's just, we're all connecting with each other and bringing each other back to ourselves.
That's so true. And I think it's also about finding yourself in part of a community in a way that you add to and you get back. It's got to be a give and take thing, and you can't be the only one giving all the time, because it is that thing of giving yourself away. Teki is talking about community. You have 2 little ones. This year you moved from South Africa to London, and now we're in lockdown. Like, how have you found, having being a mum of 2 little ones, and I guess finding that time for you as a mum of 2 in somewhere new, and trying to get that sense of community?
I'll be honest, it was very, very tough in the beginning, because I am in a foreign place. I don't have family here. So it was very tough. And also I didn't get the opportunity to actually get out, explore, meet new moms or friends. So I kind of had to go online and share and ask questions. So I will post questions and be like, so guys, I've moved, like, how has anyone dealt with moving and stuff? And then what I love about Instagram is that there are people who are willing to share their experience, and from that I've been able to get ways on how to deal. I speak to my mom every day, so it kind of helps me feel like I have some kind of sense of home with me. But also my little ones are so entertaining, where I just get lost in their love and just trying to figure them out. Every day is a learning curve for me. I learn who I am becoming, because now I'm a mom of 2 when you're a mom for the second time, I feel like you become a different person again. So I'm still learning being a mom of 2. But it's been exciting. It's been scary. However, I am embracing the change, because I am somewhere new. I get to learn new things. I get to meet new people, hopefully when this whole lockdown ends. But I'm also meeting new people online every day, which is the joys of social media. You meet people every day. And funny enough, I've been meeting a lot of people from the UK, which has been so helpful. So they'll tell me go shop there or go do this, and I appreciate that a lot. And that's why even with my social media, with what I share, I try share things that I'm experiencing. However, while I share them, I still also ask what do you guys think about this, or how do you feel about the situation? And also in that way, I also learn from those answers, because I don't think you'll know everything. We keep learning, we keep growing. So the community on Instagram, on all the social media platforms, is so helpful.
I think what you said there about growing and learning and changing, there's this massive thing in the UK that is, she's changed, which we've talked about in one of the earlier chats, but I think you ladies will bring so much more to this as well. It's kind of the idea of it's a bad thing to have changed. She's changed. It's never a good thing. It's never. But I just think if you become a mum, if you grow up even without kids, if you go through life and you don't change at all and adapt, then I don't think that is actually a very good thing. You have to change, you have to adapt, because life is happening. You're constantly learning and kind of going, oh gosh, 10 years ago I was doing that. I'd never do that now. But I love the fact that you're really embracing that change and and enjoying it. You know, it's okay. And I think part of motherhood is losing yourself and realizing that it's okay to lose yourself, that you're meant to, because your world gets flipped upside down. Your sense of purpose, your sense of self, your sense of responsibility, it all completely changes, and it's meant to. And at some point the fog lifts a little bit. You're like, oh, who's she? That's me.
Right? Yes, that's all right. Especially now being a mom for the second time, I feel like I'm a different woman, and I'm like, hey girl, you know, in the mirror, I'll be like, how you doing? And also, like you're saying, you can't stay stagnant. You have to change and embrace change. And it won't always be happy and woo, whistles and sparkles or whatever. There will be lows, but even in those lows, you're gonna learn. So at the end of the day, you're gonna get something positive out of change.
Yeah. Now, how's it? Because your girls are slightly older. Do you go through? I was wondering, like, are there different phases of the kind of, okay, now this is me. Oh no, now this is me. Like as their need to be with you and constantly, you know, asking of you is lessening. Do you feel like you're finding yourself or rediscovering yourself more and more?
Oh, good question. Yeah, my girls are 7 and 11 now. And I think that, yeah, you know, I always fall into the trap of always thinking, oh, yeah, I've got this. I've got this. Then, bam, I get hit with another challenge. And, you know, they give me something. I think in some ways it gets a lot easier. In other ways, it doesn't get a lot easier. But I do believe that our children are definitely our greatest teachers, and I've learned so much from my children. It's unbelievable. And also, you know, talking about what you were talking about growing and evolving, I think that my children have definitely made me do that. You know, I wanted to be a better person for them, to role model to them, you know, especially with, like, we were talking earlier about feelings, and you know, it's hard. I used to find it really hard to express my feelings and to allow myself to be vulnerable. As a kid, I had quite a turbulent upbringing, and I was, you know, everything kind of got swept under the carpet, I felt a lot. But one of my major challenges as a parent has been to really try and encourage myself, primarily because I want to role model to my children how to express their feelings in a good way and talk about them. I recently read on my stories an extract from a book that was really great for children. It was for children, I think, from about 5 to 8. And it's Sophie Says It's Okay Not to Be Okay. And it was a really wonderful read. The author of the book, her sister actually died. She took her own life because she was battling with mental illness. And she wanted to write something for children to help them and encourage them to express their feelings and to talk about them with other people. And that's a hard thing to do sometimes. It's really hard. So I think it's important to show our children, you know, how we do it ourselves, and just a bit more.
That's definitely part of us learning more about ourselves as well, because you suddenly start going, I want to show you all these different things, but in order to do that, I kind of need to look inwards and think about what I do and how that impacts my life. Who am I, and what's led me here, and, you know, what can I teach you or not teach you? Because we all know that if we actually give a lesson, they're like, whatever. But, you know, it is starting up that dialogue. A huge thing that I love all of you for is the way that you talk about your bodies. And I think we can't talk about motherhood without thinking about how it impacts all of this. Before becoming a mum, I would say that I was constantly in any situation, I always felt myself being the tubby one, and always therefore felt less than everyone else that was with me. And that stemmed from, like, I can remember being 8 or 9, being on a beach and seeing stretch marks, thinking that's bad. And then it's only actually becoming pregnant with Buzz that completely shifted, and I felt like this I actually need to respect this body. And again, it's a journey. Like, I feel like there are times where I'm like, nothing fits, and other times where I'm like, it's good. But this is, I feel like it's an area that you really empower so many people, not just women. Megan, did you ever think that you would be that voice for people, and how important is it to you?
No, I don't think if you'd have told me that that's what I'd be kind of teaching people to love themselves in that way and embrace their bodies and their imperfections, then I would have laughed. Because, you know, I had bulimia for such a long time, and it was, I know that feeling of being like I can't explain it. The feeling where you look in the mirror and you can't see any worth. There's no worth there. I felt completely worthless. Like I meant nothing. And there was so many deeply ingrained issues from my childhood, and so many things that I hadn't dealt with that kind of manifested as this eating disorder and this self-loathing that I went through. And I never thought that I'd teach women how to love themselves. But, you know, when I overcame that eating disorder, I had no choice but to turn that pain into my message, because I looked around at all the other women who were struggling with their bodies. And I was talking about this today with someone, and how shame is the most disempowering thing in the world. Shame literally shrinks us and puts us into a box where we don't show up for our lives. We can't be our most empowered selves. We can't live our purpose. We can't live our truth, because our entire brain space, all our energy and our time is completely consumed with, what did I eat today? How many calories were in it? What does my body look like? Have I been to the gym? Did I work off? Shall I go for a walk? How many steps did I do today? That we only have a limited amount of energy and time and space in our lives. And we cannot nurture ourselves and our purpose and have that real sense of fulfillment if we are distracted. And, you know, diet culture and fat phobia really are at the root of this issue. And it's so important for us to go there, to address it, to unravel it, and to learn about it. And I think Instagram's a fantastic place for seeing real bodies, seeing unedited bodies. It's also the opposite. But I'm glad it exists, because although there is the side with all the surgery and the Kardashian influence and all that kind of stuff that really puts so much pressure on us, like Kim Kardashian even promoting waist trainers after you've just given birth and things like that, so toxic. But the thing is, if we didn't have Instagram, that would all still be showing up in the magazines, and the way it was before, the music videos, the way it was before we had social media. At least now there is a counter to that. There is an opposition to that, and there is the people fighting back going, this is my body and I'm so proud and I love myself. And like Nat was saying before, if you follow the right people and you get rid of every single person who promotes diet culture and all that crap, and you only follow people who are in their power, who own it, who own their body, who are in their truth, who are following their passions, and also people who don't only just talk about their bodies. That's the other thing. That there comes this point where actually I think I was following too many people who were constantly just posting photos of their bodies, even though they were beautiful, real, lovely, gorgeous, juicy bodies, like post-pregnancy bodies. There was too many bodies for me on Instagram. And I was like, hang on a minute, I just need to focus on some other stuff, you know, and balance it out a little bit. So yeah.
The techies, actually, I have absolutely loved the photos that you've shared that totally normalizes things like a postpartum body, like breastfeeding. And I think it's something that you do feel like. When I was feeding Buzz earlier, I felt so much shame about going out, or embarrassment about going out and doing something that is natural, but because I hadn't seen it that much, I think I had all these my own hang-ups, really, whereas like you post such amazing photos.
I do. So I mean, thank you. I'm like, I do. So I think it's important to normalize reality and how things can look. Like you're saying, my postpartum journey. I was okay sharing my tummy, because there's some women who give birth and then immediately they start Googling like, what's the quickest way to lose weight? You know, so I think it's just so important for us to share that it's okay. Your body needs to recover. Even with pregnancy, it took 9 months for our bodies to do that beautiful, beautiful baby, you know. So it's going to take 9 months to a year for you to at least even let your body heal. So I try to share that as much as possible. And I think it's just so important to also remember there's no one else like you. No one else has your body. So there's so much power in owning that and just receiving it and accepting it, that you are beautiful just the way you are and you're enough. Whether you've just given birth, whether you about to get married, or whatever you're going through, you just need to remember that your body is just beautiful the way it is. And it's okay to go through pregnancy changes. It's okay if you bloated. It's normal, you know. And I think it's so important to share these things, because some people feel like, oh my gosh, I'm bloated, I must be gaining weight. And it's this whole freak out, you know. So yeah, that's why I share, and I always say to people, love your beautiful body, not just the physical, your mind, your body, your soul. Do things that feeds your body, do things that feeds your mind, your soul, you know. And I always say it every day, it's my line. I always say, love your beautiful body, you know, Zagaga, with a bit of a so that it gets into people's brains that love your body for the way your body is, because no one else has it.
That's so true, and I absolutely love every day when you do that. I love it. I think for me, a massive shock when I had my first kid was that my body, I didn't know what it was doing, like this dough, and I felt like there was this thing where no one had talked to me about that. I can remember coming out of the hospital, of the shower in the hospital, and seeing my brother and my husband and kind of being like, look, my tummy, it's almost back to where it was. It was not at all. Like, there's no way. But thankfully, neither of them had the guts to say, oh, I don't think so. You still look about 7 months pregnant. But to me, you know, but I don't. And then that feeling of that squidginess, I don't think no one had ever shared that. So I think it's so important that we see these images of reality. Nat, you're a lover of the unfiltered, real body. And you know the impacts of how powerful they can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the same for me, G. When I had my girls, I was really, I didn't know what to expect in terms of the body changes that I was going to see in the mirror. And I really struggled with that, you know, acceptance of my body. And it took a long time to work through that, because you just, you know, 11 years ago, you certainly didn't have as many sort of body positive accounts on, well, I don't even know if Instagram was around. Yeah, 11 years ago.
Was that 11 years ago? It was.
But you certainly didn't see it in magazines and stuff. Even you know, there was just no unfiltered images of bodies then. And, you know, we've all got real bodies. It doesn't matter what size you are. Everyone's got a real body, and everyone's body is worthy of love and is valid. And, you know, we have to be far more accepting of ourselves and less hankering after acceptance and validation externally, you know. And it's just really important, and that's a real tough one. It's not easy. It's really not easy to accept it. But, you know, it is a journey, and it can take time. But your body has done an amazing thing. If you've given birth, it doesn't matter how you give birth, if you've grown a baby, even if you haven't, I mean, bloody hell, the stuff our bodies go through and how they change, you know, and how they stretch, and, you know, you can do so much things to your body in it, and it comes back together, and it heals, and it changes and evolves. And one of the other things I felt it was really important to normalize was that fluctuation. You know, our bodies change all the time, and, you know, so many people have been struggling with that change in their bodies, like in lockdown. I think I thought I did a post recently where I was on roller skates, and I talked about how this year I've been a size 10, a size 12, a size 14, and a size 16. None of that has been due to dieting. It's just been due to normal fluctuations in my body, depending on what I'm doing at the moment. And I think that's just so important to embrace and to know that, you know what, it's going to change. It's not really that big a deal. When you get a chance to be more active and stuff, you probably will be. And, it will just change accordingly.
Completely. Someone's just written in saying your stretch marks are your tiger stripes, which I love, which leads me on to the fact that we're told so much that things like cellulite, stretch marks, any dimpling, we've been brought up to think that they're imperfections, but they're reality. Like everybody, it doesn't matter what size you are, how much moisturizer you use, that is a thing that is just part of your body, and it's something that you have to embrace. You've got to know, you can't get rid of it. You can't. And how much happier would you be if you just embrace that as part of you rather than something you've got to hide? And I think it plays a massive part then in your mental health, how you view those things. Are they flaws, or are they just another part of you to love? Megan, you talk about your stretch marks and all sorts. I think we all do, to be honest. But we can't hide those things because they are us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like to remember that when I look at nature and when I look at a field with overgrown grass and a mountainside that is ragged, and when I look at trees that are so imperfect, and even to look at an animal who you love so dearly that might have one ear bigger than the other, and so many nipples and all these things, and we never ever criticize any of that. And that's nature. It's beautiful in its rawness, in its messiness, in its imperfection, but it's perfect in its imperfection. We are nature. We aren't separate from nature. I think humans, we're very clever. We have the ability to judge, and we have a clever mind that has we're very clever, but what that does with our ego is it separates us from nature, and it makes us think that we are separate from the rest of the world, separate from where we came from. And we're not. We are perfect expressions of nature doing its thing. And the only reason why we ever see fault in anything is because we have this certain part of our brain that can judge, and that can decide between right and wrong and good and bad and black and white. We do that. And that's where it comes from. We create our own problems in that way. But really, when we come back down to it, essentially we are nature, and we're perfect in every way, no matter how we are, no matter how that form takes in our bodies.
It's so true. Another part of all this is you can find yourself in motherhood feeling a little bit lost because of that feeling of you're changing and not knowing who you are in that moment. How do you all take time for yourself? Because I think that's something that I'm really learning, that it doesn't really matter if it's 5 seconds, 5 minutes, I was going to say 5 hours, but as if, especially in these COVID times. How do you take that little bit of time for yourself? Techies, how do you make sure that as a mum of two who is busy, they're so young, how do you make sure that you're giving yourself the fuel to carry on?
So because it's busy at home, I try take advantage of whether I have 2 minutes or 5 minutes. But my favorite thing to do, and something I can get away with, is go to the bathroom and pretend like I'm taking a dump for 5 minutes just to recollect myself from running around or cleaning up something. It takes a lot. So it's so important just to take those few minutes. Another thing is, sometimes if my husband's not working, I just give him the kids, and I will put on a good bath with some bubbles, glass of wine, relax with a mask on. And sometimes I don't have time at all. So you'll see me running around with the kids with a mask on, just to get a bit of my skincare routine going, because it just makes me feel good. And I believe in doing things that make you feel good. And once you feel good, and once your cup is full, you'll be able to give love and take care of everyone else around you. So I really try to take advantage of every opportunity I can get. But yeah, it's tough though.
I love the fact as well. Yeah. I love the fact as well that for each of us, that little bit of self-care, that self-love, that self-respect will look different. Like, I feel like that's another thing. We kind of feel like, oh no, I need to go and get my hair done because that's what people do when they're looking after themselves. I need to, and actually it's very different for each person. Nat, how do you take time and put yourself center?
I mean, I am a fan of bubble baths and face masks and all of that kind of self-care stuff, but I also think that it goes way deeper than that as well. I think, especially when you're a mum, but not only when you're a mum, you kind of, your priorities, you become low down on the priority list often because the kids are very all-consuming, and sometimes you forget about what your needs are. I know anytime that I've felt really lost, I've just forgotten what I've wanted. Like, simply as that. And sometimes, I can't even communicate what I need because I myself don't know what I need, because you haven't got that often, that time, that headspace to be able to really sit with yourself and reflect on, wait a minute, what is it that I need today? What is it that, it's really hard as a mum sometimes because you just don't get that time, do you? So that's been one of the things that I've been working on. I have a therapist, and we've been talking about that recently, and she's asking me what my needs are, and I've actually really struggled with knowing what my needs are. So one of the nicest things I can do for myself is to literally sit down without my phone, without any distraction, just sit there and just think and not do anything else. And then, things pop up, things that you don't even expect will pop up. And it's been really, really revolutionary, actually, just having that time, giving myself that space and that energy.
I mean, you can tell your kids are a little bit older, just sitting down and enjoying a bit of peace. What I would give to hear the hum of the fridge. That's what I'm saying. Maybe after this, everyone's asleep. It's fine. Megan, what do you do to put yourself first?
My favorite thing to do is to wake up super early. People will probably think this is crazy, but like you were saying, everyone's got different things. My favorite thing to do that really makes me feel so nurtured by myself is to wake up at 5 a.m, a couple of hours before Esme wakes up. And I light my candles in my living room and I meditate for a good half an hour and journal. And that's how I start my day. And it's just, there is nothing more worth it. I get out of bed at 5 a.m. and I jump up because I know it's my time. It's my time. And before work's even begun, before anything happens, sometimes Esme wakes up and I'm like, fuck's sake. But that's very rare.
Right at the end of the meditation, for fuck's sake. All that zen gone.
Oh my God. And then I've got to spend an extra 2 hours of the day looking after Esme from 5 a.m. So sometimes I'll wake her up when I get up. Then it's a nightmare. Honestly, it's a bit risky. But on the days that I get those few hours, I'll meditate and journal, and I might even download, I'll get downloads for my captions and my quotes and things like that. So ideas will come to me. And that's for me is just, that time, like Nat was saying, it's that silence. Give yourself, it's like going into outer space and just sitting there with nothing and just letting things come to you, ideas, inspiration, love. You just feel that is the ultimate way for me to fill up my own cup. And when Esme wakes up at 7 a.m, I'm like rainbows and butterflies. I'm the happiest person ever.
See, that's what I feel like I've been, I was missing throughout the 6 months of lockdown before the kids went to school, the older two. It is that I felt like I was on the whole time. And I think for most of us, that feeling of constantly being on, not having that time to go and sort of think for yourself, kind of, what do I need right now? And kind of judging it. You're constantly refereeing or tidying up or, organising or what are we going to do? There's always things to be getting on with. but now hopefully a little bit of normality comes in. And it is that thing, your needs are constantly changing. So being able to kind of take the time to even think about what is going to work right now. We've had some comments. I'm gonna just go and read. So Juliana on YouTube said, "I'm not even close to being a mum, but I love listening to these things so I can see pregnancy with other eyes," which I think is a huge part as well of like everyone sharing. It's that thing of I think going into becoming a mum, you think it's going to be one thing, and actually with these conversations happening now before people even get there, I wonder what the knock-on effect is going to be in years to come of people just leaping into it a bit more prepared. Because I think I only focused on getting the babies out. I really didn't think beyond pushing them around in a pram. I didn't know what motherhood was going to be like, you know. But it is so nuanced and there's so much to it, you know.
I honestly think you can never really be prepared for babies. There's your first one, when there's your second one, when there's your third one, there's always something new that happens. So you just have to go in eyes wide and just be ready for anything.
I've got to say, Techies, actually, a slight tangent, but I watched your video today where you found out you were pregnant with your second. And you and your husband were like, "We're going to do the test. It's not going to be. It's going to be negative. But just film it because just in case." I just remember that. I can just remember that feeling of where you'll go, "Oh, yeah." Oh, I absolutely loved it. Giovanna on YouTube says, "I've told my children that my stretch marks are their first place of art they drew on me from the inside." Oh, the first piece of art they drew. I love that.
That's so beautiful.
Emily on YouTube said, how do you cope with mum guilt? I feel like during and after these COVID times, I'll have been with my baby boy every day, but feel guilty if he goes over for a sleepover at his grandparents. So she's with him every day, but she feels guilty if he's somewhere else. It's that hard thing. I think it's that for me, it's that thing of I spent so long trying to make sure that my kids were able to go to other places, that they were adaptable, because our jobs are so varied. And all of a sudden, it's 6 months just with you, and then you've got to kind of learn to release them and to put them in other people's care. It's a tricky one after that intense time.
Yeah, and mum guilt is something that you're always going to be plagued with, I'm afraid. It's how to kind of manage it. And you just got to rationalize with yourself that, you know what, you're going to be a much better parent if you do have those breaks, if you're allowed to and able to, and you've got the support to, you're going to be so much better for it. But yeah, I think it's a struggle for every mum. And I don't know why mums are much more affected than dads, but they definitely are much more affected. But it's a hard one, and we all suffer from mum guilt. So don't beat yourself up for having the mum guilt.
Someone once told me that you've.
Sorry,
you carry on. Sure. Yeah.
No, I just think with the mum guilt thing, it's very much the guilt comes from that voice in your head that's telling you that you're not doing enough and you're not good enough, and it's making sure that you know yourself, like you were saying before, like yourself, but also like you need to be your own biggest cheerleader and best friend. Like you need to have your own back. And the question I always ask myself when a wave of mum guilt comes is my child loved? Is my child taken care of? Am I doing my best? And if I answer all three to those questions, I have absolutely no reason to feel guilty at all. And then I nip it in the bud, and I'm like, no, I'm not allowing that voice in my head to tell me that I'm not good enough, or that my child deserves more, because I do everything that I can. My child is happy and safe and loved, and that is the most I can do. So nip it in the bud.
I think the expectations that we put on ourselves are just so high. Like, we can never be all of those things all of the time. We are going to drop some balls and drop some plates. And, I think that is just part of it. And you just have to, it is that thing. You're doing okay. It's that, yeah. Well, someone once said to me once that from the moment when you fall pregnant, you feel guilty, and that never leaves you, which I believe is true now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jade on Facebook said, any tips on trying to fight that voice in your head when all you see is the Instagram perfect image, not just of famous people, but even people you might know? I know they don't look or behave like that, but you still get fooled by the filters. Techies, what do you think about,
I say unfollow people that make you feel like you're not enough. Just unfollow, block, next. Go in the mirror and tell yourself how beautiful you are, because you are enough just the way you are. You're perfect the way you are. And I know it's tough. There's filters. There's now apps where you can make your body smaller or bigger, you know. And I've had a lot of women ask me like, what should I do? I want to exercise. I'm feeling like this. And I'm just like, don't exercise because you hate your body. Exercise because you love yourself and your body. So if you see people with the filters, you're automatically known. They didn't wake up like that. That's not how they look like. So don't make yourself believe that's what it is and that's what you want to look like. Why would you want to look like someone else when there's no one else who looks like you? You know? So just delete, next, move on to the next one, swipe up.
That's a really interesting thing though, isn't it? If you meet people in real life and they're nothing like what they put online. I also really worry about if anyone goes missing, because, you know, so many filters, no one's going to know who they're looking for.
How are you going to find them?
I guess this whole talk is about feeling like we've got this and knowing that you've got this. So what would your big thing be to people watching on that topic? Because I feel like it's one of those things that you kind of have to go, yes, we've got this, and you have to go in with it as an attitude of we've got it, it's fine, but knowing that you're gonna also fail within that and seeing failure not as failure, so almost seeing failure as part of success, if you like.
Failing is all part of it.
Yeah. It is, isn't it?
But is it even failure? Is it even failure, or is it just growth? Is it just taking the steps towards growing as a person? Like, if we didn't make mistakes, if we didn't do things that, you know, weren't always the ideal and the perfect thing to do, how would we ever learn? How would we ever grow? And I guess it's all about the key to life and to getting through life and to, you know, keeping your mental health in check and to, you know, essentially being the happiest, most empowered version of you is to have compassion for yourself. Like, you have to hold space for yourself, your mistakes and your challenges and your ups and downs and your highs and your lows with the same amount of compassion and the same amount of love and empathy that you would have for a friend. You would never put your friend down when they made a mistake or they were going through a hard time. You would never call them and tell them that they were shit or tell them that they were wrong or a bad mom. And there is absolutely no reason why we should give ourselves a hard time and give everyone else all of the grace in the world. It doesn't make any sense. And I always do this when I'm putting myself through a hard time and being hard on myself. I imagine in my mind all of the love that I have for the people that are closest to me, for my parents, for my sisters, and then I take that same amount of love and compassion and I just redirect it at myself. And I transfer that same love to me. You know, that's the only way that you're ever going to get through the harder times is if you've got your own back. And your mantra needs to be, I have got this. Even if I feel like I'm falling apart, I've always got this. I'm always going to get through it.
It's so easy to be the person that beats yourself up, like to see all those negatives. And I think we all need to be a little bit more techies, to be honest, and in the front of our mirror every day, just kind of going, come on, you've got it.
You got this.
Tell yourself how proud
and
you
also
are.
just sorry.
No, I was just saying, just look in the mirror and just say, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Look what you've come through. Look what you've fucking come through. Over the last however many years. You know, if you just look at the last 5 years of your life and you make a list of everything that you've gone through, everything you've achieved, everything you've gone through, every setback, every challenge, and you go, oh my God, I am so resilient. I am so proud of myself. That is the ultimate self-love boost, to have that feeling of like, wow, I really do have this. I really do get through everything life throws at me.
Exactly. Affirmations are so important. And the main thing I think we're all saying is that we just need to be kinder to ourselves and stop beating ourselves down. We are enough. We got this. Yes, we do. Even if we fall, we get up, we reset, and we keep going. And And I think it's just also important to remember that it's okay to fall. We're normal, we're human, it's normal. You fall, what you do when you fall? Dust yourself up, get up, and try again, you know?
I guess you also learn from all those fallings. You know, every time you fall over, you learn something.
Of course, you learn and then you grow, and then you become even a better person, a better version of yourself. And also it takes time to actually get to that point where you believe in yourself. It takes work. So if you have to tell yourself every day, I got this. I believe in myself. You can do it. Let's go. Tell yourself every day, work on yourself. It's like I said in the beginning, it's so important to build a very healthy relationship with yourself. Very healthy and also very honest. I feel like if you stand in the mirror and you tell yourself what is happening now, what you don't believe in, you know your truth better than anyone. So if you can face yourself in the mirror, work on yourself every day, you'll be well on your way to believing in yourself.
And I think, we're all just winging it. No one really knows what the heck they're doing. So try not to compare yourself to everyone else, because no one's got it all sussed. We're great at giving you advice and we're giving you tips, but that doesn't work for everyone. Take what will work for you and run away with it. But, none of us have got it all sussed. So please don't think that you're any less of a person if you I'm often running around like a headless chicken and I don't know what's going on. It's just normal. It's absolutely normal. So don't, as we say, have compassion for yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you haven't got all the answers to all the questions.
Because no one does.
No one does.
So if someone's watching this and they are, this is called We've Got This. And someone's kind of like, because I have had moments in the last 6 months where I've kind of felt, no, I haven't. If someone is watching this and actually hearing someone go, you've got this, and they're kind of feeling that self-doubt creeping in, what is that first step that person should take to kind of pulling themselves back and kind of going, no, actually, you have, or just that little, what one thing would you say to someone who's feeling like that, Megan?
I mean, when I have those moments, I have like a few steps that I do. The first thing I do is I sit and I breathe and I feel all my feelings and I label them. So like whatever comes up for me, if it's sadness in my chest and it's a red ball and I label it. And then if it's self-doubt, it's in my head and it's a blue diamond. And I like to figure out where my emotions are in my body, label them and give them a color and a name so that I know they're separate from me. That's my first step. Then I get in the bath. And then I call someone. I always call someone, pick up the phone, talk to someone, because the voice in your head can spiral out of control and you can end up feeling completely consumed by it. Call someone who's not going to make you feel worse, by the way. Be careful who you pick. Sometimes I'll call my mum or I'll call my sisters and I'll just end up feeling worse when I get off the phone. So I call my friends who I know can hold space for me, have got the capacity for it, and are very good at giving advice. I call them. I swear to God, after a 20-minute phone call with someone close to me who gets it, I just feel like all the weight in the world has been lifted off my shoulders. And I always look in the mirror, always, and I'm having a breakdown, and I go, you got this. And I look into my own eyes and I'm like, you have got this. I give myself like a pep talk, a full-on pep talk. I'm like, you've got this. You have got this.
That's amazing.
I'm crying.
So it feels like that kind of fake it until you make it type of thing as well. It's that kind of you've got to like go deep, and you know that deep down you have, this is just kind of a blip in the road or something else that's going to happen along that journey.
Yeah, definitely. And also I think you have to remember where you come from and remember where you want to go. Remember your goals, remember your dreams. Remember what you want for yourself. Because like Megan is saying, it's very easy for that voice to just like tackle you, boom, and you're out. And that's it, But once you remember where you're going, or even also in that moment, hug yourself and say, okay, it's okay. Let's try again. Just remind yourself, where am I going? Let's go. You got this. Let's go.
So true. Nat, have you got anything to add?
I just think, start living for yourself. Stop worrying about what everyone else is thinking about you. Stop trying to get accepted or for validation, external validation. Just go inwards and start living for yourself. Once you start doing that, things will just get so much easier, and you'll be able to be a lot happier once you do that.
One thing that I've started doing recently is, I don't know if you ever thought about the mum that you thought you would be. And I think I get so overwhelmed with all of the stuff that she just seems sometimes so far away from the mum that I am. So I start making time within the day where I put everything else aside. And I know we're talking about how we should put ourselves first, but in those moments, I am putting myself first because I'm being that person. Like, I'm allowing myself that time away from all the other things that aren't my priority. I don't care if a jumper is washed or, all those, or if the dishwasher's stacked or whatever. I just want to be that mum and enjoy those kids that, I pushed out my foof. That's all I want. And on that note, guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you. What a beautiful way to finish. I just think we need to talk more, and you three just light up my life. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who has joined in the virtual meetup. All those videos are going to stay exactly where they are for you to share, to rewatch. If you've missed some, don't worry. Just go back and watch some more. And thank you, a huge thank you to our sponsor Pura for helping us put these on. Thank you. Good night. Bye.